session items? Seeing none, we're going to adjourn to closed session. We will reconvene at 7 p.m. We are going to reconvene this regular meeting of the Escondido Union School District Board of Trustees. And we are going to start off with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Ms. Frank.
Put your right hand over your heart. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All board members are present, and we do have a report out of closed session.
Thank you. In closed session, item B1, in closed session, the board took action to approve the recommendation for appointment of Megan Power as principal of North Broadway Elementary School beginning September 15th, 2025 by a unanimous vote of 5-0. Congratulations.
Good evening, President Paulson, Board, and Dr. Ibarra. My name is Megan Power, and I'm very honored to be the next principal of North Broadway Elementary. I'm coming to EUSD from Encinitas, and I really look forward to working with the students, the staff, and the families at North Broadway. I'm very eager to challenge myself in this new role in this new school, and I really look forward to collaborating with my fellow colleagues, with teachers, with the community, and with all of our leaders around the campus, and really join the Escondido family. So thank you very much for welcoming me.
Welcome. Congratulations. And in item B2, in closed session, the board considered dismissal charges against a classified probationary employee and took action to approve those charges and release employee number 674994 by a vote of 5-0. That concludes the report.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to move on to approval of the agenda. Is there anything that anybody would like to pull or modify? Looking for a motion.
I'll move. Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Keep it down. Mine didn't come up yet. No, did yours come up?
Yeah.
Oh, there it goes. So there's yours.
I already.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, let me try to refresh. I just vote yes. Oh.
All right, motion passes 5-0. Moving on, we need to approve the minutes of the meeting of August 14th, 2025.
Move approval of the meeting for August
14th.
14th, 2025.
I'll second.
All right, motion and a second. Please vote.
And not coming up again.
It is. Okay.
I did.
Okay. So we'll do hand votes, all in favor, and motion passes 5-0.
Vote didn't register, is that what you said?
Moving on, I believe we've got another.
And it also says five votes yes. Oh, you put it in manually, okay. I don't know.
Okay.
Not.
At this time, that was the only one that we had, correct? Okay. All right, thank you very much. Moving on to public comments, we have one public comment tonight, and that is Taylor Lee.
Good evening, honorable members of the Escondido School Board. My name is Taylor Lee, and I'm speaking before each of you as a student of the Classical Academy Middle School, or as we like to call it, CAMS. On a daily basis, the entire CAMS community is encouraged to give back. We engage in various community service projects, including a candy drive for the Escondido Police Department trunk and treat, and a toy drive to benefit the kids at the Boys and Girls Club. At the end of each school year, every student participates in an event called CAMS in the Community. CAMS in the Community is a commitment to bettering our surrounding community and getting involved. Last year, I took part in CAMS in the Community lunch kits, where we put together lunches and breakfast for other students here in Escondido. Some other CAMS in the Community events included students touring the Escondido Police Department and Fire Department headquarters, where they wrote notes to thank the officers who serve and protect us. Others partnered with the City of Escondido to help beautify the area by cleaning up alongside the Escondido Bike Trail. Another group of students supported Central Elementary by organizing sports equipment for the next school year and helping to clean up after the end of school year classroom parties. The CAMS in the Community event, along with the Classical Academy Middle School as a whole, teaches everyone why it's important to give back. Giving back is the missing element in many schools and reminds us to be an active member of the community and improve the lives of those around us. In closing, I want to personally thank each of you for supporting charter schools like Classical and for acknowledging the vital role they play in educating students like me.
Thank you very much. And do we have a report from CSEA? Seeing no representative, moving on to the Escondido Elementary Educators Association.
Good evening, President Paulson, school board members, Dr. Ibarra, and cabinet. Thank you, Megan, for choosing EUSD. North Broadway is a fantastic site with extraordinary teachers and staff. We look forward to working with you. I would like to thank our school board meeting for the meeting today, as I think we recognize the changes that need to be made in our communications, and we look forward to all being on the same page again. The mutual respect of our roles has gotten lost, but I believe after today, we are all on the same page of what's best for our students. After all, they are the reason we are all here. I'm happy to say that our AAA membership is continuing to grow, and we welcome 22 new members to our association this year. I'm always honored and proud to speak on behalf of our association. I spent my month of July working, visiting summer school classes, met with Christine Carrera, our coordinator of community schools, she's amazing, and met with Rick Oser discussing the various exciting things we're doing in our district. I was extremely impressed with the work going on during summer school, with teachers expressing their happiness with having the autonomy to teach their hearts out the way they enjoy teaching. I'm hoping that this autonomy continues, as the joy I saw made me very hopeful. I want to thank Rick Oster and his team for putting on an incredible professional development day on August 13th. I heard amazing feedback and I enjoyed attending the courses. This brings me to my first member profile of the year. I want to thank Heather Hedstrom for her dedication to our staff and organizing the August 13th PD materials and resources. The work that went into those materials was apparent and appreciated. Here's a quote from Heather. When I think about teachers, my favorite thing about education is collaborating and learning from each other. Teachers working together to problem solve the many challenges of teaching and learning inspires and energizes me. Heather is extremely dedicated to her family and is having her 35th wedding anniversary with her high school sweetheart in October. That's a long time to be married. I want to thank Heather for all she's doing and let her know how appreciative we are that she is a part of our team, so thank you, Heather. I spent this past Tuesday in Heather Krapel's first grade classroom helping out with the cutest little learners ever. Heather is a fantastic teacher and I was so impressed by the entire team. I was able to chat with Vanessa Lodge and Karen Charles as well, and I have to say it was just an amazing day. The best part of it was when the kids were guessing my age. It was awesome. I went from age 13 to 100 at lightning speed. Those who said I was in my 30s became my favorites equally as fast. Thank you, Mrs. Krapel, for letting me spend the day with you and your precious students. I loved every minute. I want to thank our teachers for supporting our classified staff in the end of the year preparations for summer, and I want to thank our classified staff for their hard work in making classrooms ready for our return. Together with our brothers and sisters in CSEA, we continue to be the foundation of our district. This relationship shows the beauty of collaboration and how great things can be done when collaboration is easy and consistent. And I want to thank my AAA board for being here this evening and showing our solidarity and our commitment to relationships with our district. So thank you.
Thank you, and a special thanks from the entire school board for all of the great work that all of our teachers are doing every day. And thank you very much for making this a great start of the school year for our students. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Does anybody have anything they would like to have pulled for separate consideration or any questions? Looking for a motion to approve then.
I move approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Can we just do a hand vote? All in favor, please raise your hand. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you.
Never give up. It worked that time.
It worked that time. Well, hand voting worked also, so. Okay. Working with the new computer system, so I apologize for the delays here. I can't even see it. Okay, we are on item M1, and we have all been looking forward to this one. Unaudited actuals.
So, our fiscal director, Michelle Cagle, I'm sorry, Doug, did you want?
Oh, no, I just wanted to say how excited our student visitor will be for this one. That's what I would have recommended also, by the way.
So now I'll bring up our fiscal director, Michelle Cagle, to go through our unaudited actuals.
Good evening, President Paulson, school board members. Tonight we're going to talk about my favorite time of the year, unaudited actuals. For us, it's the official close of a school year. So here's how we officially ended the school year in comparison to where we thought we would at estimated actuals, the time of adoption. And then, as always, we've done the math for you. Okay. We saw an overall increase of unrestricted revenue in the amount of $5.6 million. This is comprised of having the final P2 numbers for ADA and our final entitlement for our home-to-school transportation. There is also an increase of our interest earned revenue. And then fair market value. Each June 30th, we have to report the fair market value of our cash at the county treasurer. This is in accordance with GASB. We make the entry on June 30th, and then we automatically reverse it July 1st. It's just a moment in time. This year, there was an appreciated value of our cash, and so we increased our revenue in comparison to years before where there's been a depreciation. And then for expenses, there was an overall decrease of expenses of $6.4 million. During the close process, we look at our restricted funds, what were unspent. We then look to see at our unrestricted funds. Can we move any of those expenditures into our restricted funding sources, aka the EUSD plan? We were able to move about $1.1 million from unrestricted to restricted. And then budgetary prudence. Knowing our financial outlook, we really focused this year on looking at every line item of our budget. From what contracts we had, to our licensing, to services, to positions. If a position became vacant, was there a need to fill it? That continuous work resulted in some savings for this year. Every dollar we're able to save in a fiscal year sets us on a good trajectory in the multi-year projection. And then for restricted revenue, unspent federal funds, that's mostly the titles. We have to book the revenue and the expense in the year that it occurred. What was unspent will be carried over into 25, 26. And then for expenses, our EUSD plan, being able to move costs into the restricted, and then once again, title carryover and ELOP carryover. Any questions?
We're liking it so far. Keep going with the good news here, because this is good news so far.
So far. Hey, that's 2 times in a row I've been able to present good news. Now that we've closed the 24-25, we want to start to look forward. However, before we discuss the future, I want to go back to where we were at adoption. This was our MYP then. At that time, in the course of the 3 years, we were going to have to cut $12 million, $6 million in each year. With that, we had a 1.7 fund balance above our reserves. So what's changed since then? We ended the 24-25 with a fund balance of $12 million more than we projected. The state passed their budget, which included a TK add-on of unrestricted ongoing money, a restricted one-time student support block grant, and then reinstated the restricted one-time learning emergency recovery funds. The question then becomes, how do these changes impact our MYP? There's a couple ways of looking at it. This MYP represents no cuts and no EUSD plan. We don't make the $12 million reductions that were required at the time of adoption. The one-time increase of our fund balance in 24-25 is being used to balance the yearly deficits. We're slowly chipping away at our fund balance. We're not implementing an EUSD plan of using our restricted one-time funds to offset our ongoing unrestricted funds. And at the end of the 3rd year, we'll be $4.7 million above our reserves. And then this also takes into consideration about an average of $8 million deficit spending every year. Okay, then we have this MYP with an EUSD plan. In this one, we still aren't making the $12 million in reductions, but we are implementing the EUSD plan of utilizing our restricted one-time funds to offset our ongoing unrestricted expenditures. With this MYP, in the 3rd year, our fund balance is $11.4 million over the required reserves versus the $4 million with the MYP where there were no cuts and no EUSD plan. The EUSD plan is allowing us to build a bigger fund balance. In this one, though, I included the 4th year, which will soon be our 3rd year. The reason for this is by the time that we enter the 4th year, 28-29, we will have fully expended our one-time funds. The expenditures move back from the restricted to the unrestricted. And we're still assuming no reductions, that we have not touched the $12 million in reductions. And in that 4th year, we're unable to meet our reserves by $200,000. This MYP really illustrates our financial long path and allows us to be able to determine what the best course of action is. Any questions?
Just a comment.
Okay.
There was recently an article in the Union Tribune about the county. The supervisors have decided to, or are trying to use their one-time money to continue programs that are no longer being funded by whatever source. And it was talking about the ramifications of that and the mistake that is. So I think we need to be very cautious about spending one-time money on ongoing expenses and look for ways to whittle away again, as we have been, on those ongoing expenses.
Yeah, as in these MYPs, we're not assuming the cuts and that one-time money is strictly just eating away at our ongoing expenses. Long term would be, where do we want to be? Looking at this one, with the information we know now, at the end of 4 years, we know we're not gonna be able
We
to
can't
meet our
maintain
reserves.
because
So,
the one-time money is gone.
yeah, so we're allowing
That's the
ourselves the
point.
flexibility to make plans right now, right, for the future? And then,
I know,
as,
worst-case scenario, and I appreciate that, because sometimes you don't think that far into, people don't. I won't say you, but people don't think that far into the future.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that.
and then, as promised in Andy's favorite slide, the forecaster. It's really just illustrating the fund balance in relation to what our required reserves are. Okay, so what's our future outlook? The state continues to fund us with one-time monies. These one-time resources is allowing us to offset our ongoing expenditures. And then declining enrollment. Our preliminary results of enrollment indicate that at first interim, we're gonna have to take a reduction of 40 students. That's on top of the 230 student decline that was from 24-25. So at the end of the day, we potentially have declined 270 students from last year. And then attendance recovery. That program started in summer and will continue throughout the year. The question that still remains is how we're going to be funded for this program, how the calculation of how the state's going to fund us for this program. They really haven't stated. What we know is that attendance recovery is going to be reported separately from our regular ADA. So right now it's hard to be able to estimate what that revenue source is. Hopefully by the time first interim comes, we'll have a better idea of what that potential revenue source is. And then we're gonna continue to monitor what's happening at the federal level and what their decisions might have that impact our financial situation. And then our next steps, in December, we will be presenting the 25-26 first interim with updated ADA projections, an updated MYP, and then we're gonna be finalizing our audit process. The auditors are actually gonna be here next week for the 24-25 school year, and then they will be here by January 31st to present their findings. Any questions?
Questions from the board? So the good news here, the big thing is we have been looking at doing $6 million in cuts over each of the next 2 years. We're no longer looking at that. That's the big takeaway for me here. But we do long-term have some things that we need to look at, especially when we look 4 years out.
Correct.
Okay. Other questions? Thank you so much. We love it when we hear a report that saying we're not going to have to make cuts. We really like that. That's cool. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Is this an action item? All right, so we need a motion to accept the unaudited actuals.
A motion. I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Or raise your hand. Thank you. Motion passes 5-0.
Oh, now go.
All right. You successfully voted. You did a great job. We are moving on to item 2, another one of this is going to be a big one. Mobile communication devices. Mr. Oser.
Good evening, President Paulson, board members, Superintendent Ibarra, and Cabinet. I love starting a presentation with "this is going to be a big one," especially after a wonderful presentation by my colleague on a positive fiscal outlook, which is much nicer than the outlooks that we have had. So great setup, thank you. Yes, one of our hot topics, mobile communication devices. So this evening, we're going to give a little presentation about the legislation that brought us this need for a board policy. we're also going to talk a little bit about stakeholder input and then our next steps. So just a quick overview, and I know my colleague, Director Smith, gave a presentation in the spring, bringing everyone up to speed on EUSD's efforts around mobile devices. And so this is really just meant for a quick overview. So by 2026, we must have a board policy that restricts the use of mobile communication devices in our schools. And here's just a little overview of what the law requires. So school districts must develop policies with stakeholder input. The policy must be updated every 5 years. And school officials and staff, we still do not have the right to access or monitor a student's online activities. And the law does provide several exceptions. So the law outlines specific circumstances where students cannot be prohibited from possessing or using smartphones, including emergencies or perceived threats, permissions granted by a teacher or administrator, medical necessity as determined by a licensed physician, and then requirements within a student's IEP or 504 so that necessary accommodations can be received. So that's a quick overview of the Assembly Bill and what is now known as California's Phone-Free School Act. And a real brief overview of our current practices. So schools currently have practices in place to restrict the use of cell phones inside the classrooms or at school. So these entail typically an initial violation where a staff member will provide a friendly reminder and warning. For repeat violations, then the device will be collected and returned to the student at the end of the day. And then if it's a persistent violation, then a parent or guardian will be required to pick up the phone from the school office at the end of the day. So those are some of the current practices that are in place. So wanted to just briefly highlight the stakeholder input that was taken in the spring at the direction of the governing board. So the design team met in early 2025. There was a lengthy discussion about mobile communication devices in our schools. And then we reviewed the current district policies and practices, evaluating their effectiveness, and there's a lot of brainstorming of potential changes that could take place. In addition, there was a survey that went out to EUSD staff, and you could see these are the results of that survey. So cell phones were noted as a distraction inside the classroom. In addition, they were noticed as a source of disruption outside of the classroom as well. And then one of the questions pertained to whether or not the current cell phone policy was working well. And you could see we're very divided there, but the majority of the EUSD staff felt that they strongly, they strongly disagreed with the notion that cell phone policy was working well, and that there was no need for further restrictions, which brought us to doing a couple of pilots. So there was a pilot that was conducted at Quantum that involved using locking cabinets, and it was noticed that there were less distractions, but also it was noted that the process of collecting and then returning devices was quite time consuming. At Hidden Valley, there was a pilot where locking bags were provided to the school, and it was primarily for persistent violations. So students who consistently had their devices out, and then staff would collect the devices and put them in the locking bags. So what we noticed was just the presence of those locking bags and the enforcement of that expectation actually resulted in students complying with the expectation much more so. So that leads us to a board policy that we are presenting to all of you today regarding mobile communications devices. And you have in front of you the edited CSBA board policy. And for the most part, it's very much in alignment with the CSBA's recommended policy. Actually, CSBA had two options. One was the prohibiting use of smartphones, and then the other one was limited use. And so we are recommending that we follow the prohibited use of smartphones and other mobile communication devices. And with very minor changes, broadening it from teachers to staff, we're making a recommendation that we follow the CSBA's recommended policy. And it noted in this, the key pieces is that students shall not use smartphones or other mobile communication devices while at a school or under the supervision and control of a district employee or district contracted agency staff member, except under these specific circumstances. And that's, once again, in case of an emergency or in response to perceived threat or danger, when a staff member grants permission, when a licensed physician determines the possession or use, if necessary, for the student's health and well-being, and when the possession or use is required by the student's individualized education plan, once again, as an accommodation so that the student can benefit from the educational experience. So that's the recommendation for Board Policy 5131.8. But this also dovetails into our current policy, which is, we are also recommending for approval, which is around student conduct. So in 5131, there was very limited mention about the use of cell phones. What we've done is we've actually taken the language from the recommendation from 5131.8 and embedded it in the student conduct policy. And so you can see the overview, the summary of 5131. So it'll remain the same except for the more restrictive language around mobile communication devices. And in addition, I shared before what the current practices were. Moving to this board policy, the board policy will really direct the school practices, including changing the responses to students who are violating the practice. So once again, we will provide a friendly reminder for an initial violation with documentation, so that we'll document that violation in our Power School log entries, so that other staff members can see that a violation was already given. And then the second violation would result in, once again, collecting of the device and making the device available at the end of the school day, once again with documentation. And then the third violation would be, that's when the parent would need to come to the office to pick up the cell phone. Now, if a student continues and chronically violates the board policy, then school staff will meet with the family, discuss the expectations, make sure that the family as well as the student understands the violation and the expectations. And then at that point, then the student will need to check their device in to a designated location at the beginning of the day and retrieve at the end of the day. And in addition to this, the expectation or the goal would be to really communicate well with students and families, do a campaign so that everyone's aware of not only the board policy and the expectations, but also the reasons why we're holding these expectations. And with that said, any questions or comments?
Yes. First of all, I actually spoke to a teacher at Quantum who said that what the program they were using was very successful and everyone was happy with it. So I'm curious as what you consider time consuming. How much time did it take to collect the phones and then to hand them out again, or to have kids pick them up at the end of the day?
So Quantum's actually an interesting situation because they do have a smaller student population, and they were using the locking boxes under with new principal Mr. Lachey, as well as the staff. They would like to continue to explore and experiment more extensively with the lock boxes.
And I know they're a smaller population, but their class sizes are
Right.
comparable, no? So that's the one thing, and the other thing is that this doesn't solve the problem of the entire school day. And we found that young people are not socializing any longer. They're on their phones, they go at lunchtime or on a break, and that's where the bullying and the untoward behavior happens. And actually, a great majority of respondents said that cell phones are a source of disruption outside of the classroom. So again, it would be, in my mind, it would be preferable to have those cell phones put away for the school day.
Right.
If someone really had to have a cell phone, maybe we could even provide those, I mentioned our last meeting, the phones that don't allow social content. It's just for if you need to make an emergency phone call. How many individual cases would we have? And again, if there's an emergency, the school has alarm systems, and we have security overseeing the schools now as well, as we have noted. So the socialization during the school day, when you talk about the consequences of misuse of cell phones, that's also time consuming, takes away from the classroom to even if you're just disciplining one individual. And sometimes it takes even more time once students are in the habit, come in, put their phones in the lockbox and pick them up at the end of the day. So I'd like to have a discussion about that because we haven't seen the administrative regulations either, which would actually be the implementation of the policy that we're being asked to approve. So that's my question and input.
Thank you. Can we get clarification? Does this apply to the entire school day, including break times, lunchtime? This applies to the entire day.
Right, and that's one of the changes that we actually made to the CSBA's recommendation, where it was the entire school day, extending into the before and after school program as well. So with the board policy, what that will do is that will really clarify what the expectations are. And so basically it's from the moment that the student enters school, the phone or the communication device is stored and does not come out until the moment that the student leaves school, even if the student is in the after school program.
Where is it stored?
Inside the student's backpack.
And so when they go to lunch, they don't take the phone with them.
Right. So the expectation with the board policy would be that the student cannot take the phone out and use the phone without the permission of a staff member. And if there was the event that a student needed to make an emergency phone call, and this is very much what typically happens at the schools, if a student needed to make an emergency phone call, then of course it could be the office, or it could be going to the administrator or to a staff member and asking permission. And under the board policy, that would grant the staff member to give the student permission to make that emergency phone call.
And that staff member normally would be lunch duty, a lunch duty person, so you're giving them that responsibility.
Typically, it would be the administrator who's out at the lunch area or the recess area.
That's quite a number of students for them to be, have eyes on
Right.
at one time.
But for the most part, the expectation would be that students are not having a need for that use of that device.
No,
And-
they're not having a need, but they will find a way. Anyhow,
Okay.
I said mine.
Andy, you've got something that you want to add?
Yeah, just in speaking to the pilots like at Quantum, and I understand that so far, and they're going to continue to explore that, but it's something else, especially at our 5 large middle schools, much larger than Quantum. You know, we want to be very sensitive to the time it would take to take the phones and then give the phones back at the end of each period when we already have it's the precious time that we have in each period of our classes too. So before we were to roll anything out widespread, we wanted to be able to explore the possibility using the progressive nature of the addressing these things if the phone is out, engaging with our parents as well when that becomes a continued problem, and work through those pathways first before we further impact the precious instructional time that we do have across the many periods, the 8 periods a day that we have at our middle schools. So that was the thinking behind keep it in your backpack. We have, with passing this board policy would give us the more authority to enforce this, and of course an AR. We wanted to have the discussion first about that before we come back with an AR and update the board on the implementation of it. No, we haven't, because we wanted to have the discussion with the board first before we go forward and talk about how implementing it. But I know that from the middle schools I've visited even so far this year, this is something that's becoming more of a standard practice in the classrooms. I was at Bear Valley today, and every classroom has a sign up saying the phone must be, remain unseen essentially in your backpack in that way. And of course, at lunchtime, in passing periods, if students attempt to take their phone out, having this policy, the communications with the families and the progressive discipline including involving the parent, it gives our administrators something more to hold our students accountable, to keep that phone away. And of course, just the ongoing campaign of socialization of our students is one of our priorities as well. And so hoping all of these things coming together, protecting our instructional time, engaging our parents, engaging our students, and holding everyone accountable along this new board policy. That's our approach. We found kind of struck a middle ground, because there's a lot of our families that don't want their phones to be restricted from them in the case of an emergency or something of that nature. And of course, there's other folks that have a strong feeling to remove those phones. And so we found if the phones are kept in the backpack, they're not being used during the school day, any point in the school day, our administrators having this policy to enforce, engaging with our parents, that if we go forward with this, I think found the middle ground for everyone involved to ensure our students have a successful school day.
Okay, I respectfully disagree.
I understand.
Okay.
Do they have a homeroom?
Let's get through questions from everybody so that we can respond to them collectively, okay? Frank, comments? Mark?
No questions. I appreciate the staff's work on this. I mean, it's not as extreme as I recommended, but I do see that it's working, and I think with initial enforcement, I think this is a positive step, and this can be a standard that's going to greatly improve the educational experience of our students, and hopefully give quite a bit of relief to the teachers and staff as well. Thank you.
I would just ask one question on the board policy. Item 2, when a staff member grants permission to the student, I just foresee an issue with that of every student automatically has the lady over there told me it was okay for me to use it just right now. And when there are multiple staff members in a classroom, who's making the decision? And if we've got some teachers who really believe that my students need their phones out because they may need to look up words during this period, and that's the standard in their classroom, I just have the gut feeling that is going to be, when we're giving that permission to every staff member to give a student permission, I have the feeling that's going to wind up being an issue. And I'm not sure what to do about it. But what I foresee is that students who are apt to want to skirt the policy are going to find a way around it, and they're going to be finding ways to go. Their teacher says, yes, you can go to the bathroom, but your phone has to be here in the classroom. And the student goes out and, yep, they've left their burner phone in the classroom in the pouch, and they've got their real phone with them, and they, ask somebody for permission, and that person doesn't know. No, they're not supposed to be using it. I just see that as a loose spot.
Well, I can tell you, I witnessed this in the spring at Bear Valley Middle School. Mr. Retzky was outside during nutrition break. It goes really quick. Kid came up to him and said, "Can I call my mom? I forgot. I don't remember what they forgot. I need to call her. They need to bring me my gym clothes or something." Says, "Yep, go ahead right here." Took his phone out of the backpack, called the parent, put it away. That was a real life example that I just saw.
There are always
Yeah.
good, there are
Right,
always
but,
rule followers
Yeah.
and there are always rule breakers.
Right, and for those, that's why the policy, for those extreme examples, you go through the progressive discipline. You see it, you confiscate it, parent has to come get it.
And that is time consuming.
Right, but again, it's not all of the kids. It'll be
A small
the
percentage.
percentage of those that don't want to follow the rules.
I would like to see a more stringent policy, but I apparently am outnumbered, so
Oh,
it is what it is.
This is a first reading. We're looking for feedback. I don't think we're voting on this tonight.
No.
I don't think, but we're ready for that. Mr. Olson?
I was just gonna say, I think Dr. Barr's example of Mr. Retzky was appropriate, as long as the staff, whoever's making the decision, is, yeah, do it right here.
Yeah.
As opposed to, can I make a call on the way? I think that's where Jones, I think that's gonna get a little gray, but as long as there's consistency of, yeah, do it right here next to me.
And that's what the rule, when we bring a new policy, we'll be training the administrators, they need to calibrate amongst each other. So every middle school is implementing it exactly the same, then they roll it out with their staff and with their teachers, so that they know.
Well, and this says staff, so that means noontime supervisors can provide permission. Nutrition staff can provide permission, paraeducators can provide permission. And, I would like to see language that just leaves less to interpretation personally, that while they are under the direct control of that staff member, so that my student isn't getting permission from somebody else.
And that could be something that could be in the AR as well, to define more clearly who is allowed to give permission, so that those other staff that you mentioned, it would be like they ask a nutrition person in the cafeteria, you're gonna have to go ask the administrator for that permission. So that could be something in the implementation that we would show in the AR. And I also wanted to point out as well in that law that the exception for us restricting access for a student to have their phone in the case of an emergency or a perceived threat. And I know we had that discussion before, but let's say there is some sort of an emergency. In some of these methods of locking away a phone, we would have to provide a way for that phone to be now returned to that student in the case of an emergency. And so we can walk through all the logistics of that, but if every phone was locked away in every classroom or in a homeroom type situation or something like that, how do we then provide that phone back to them to be adhered to the law, allowing them having access to it? So the logistical challenge of that, as well as talk about time consuming, entering the school if we were to remove the phone at that time, what the administrative and other staff role would that be in getting kids in the gate into their first period class after having to have everybody stand in line to turn their phones in. And so just balancing all of the nature of the things in the law, everyone's interest in the community here in the board, that's where we try to strike the balance in what we're proposing here tonight. And of course, it doesn't have to be voted on tonight. It's only the first reading. We can go back and work on it. It doesn't even have to come back to the next meeting. We can have more time to discuss and work through these issues.
It would be a good idea also to have the accompanying administrative regulation to see how it would be implemented.
Yeah, we could work on that. We may not have that ready for the next board meeting, but we could work on that and bring that back for further discussion of how we intend to implement this, and that could further the conversation, maybe even answer some of these questions, and we'll incorporate some of this discussion into that AR.
Well, as I said, it should be both, even though we don't write or approve the AR.
Well, no, and we didn't bring it tonight. The reason why we didn't bring it tonight is not because you don't approve it. It's because we wanted to have the discussion so that when we do draft that,
So
that
you
we're
know how to
incorporating your thoughts and representation of the community into that AR.
And CSBA does not have a draft AR on the mobile policy. They had a board policy, but not, so we would have to do it from scratch. So,
Yeah, I think I would like, before we vote on this, whether this is next meeting or 2 meetings from now, I'd like to see the AR with it to see how it's, because I think the consistency of the rollout, both across the campus and so that every school is doing things as closely the same as possible is going to be how this is going to either succeed or fail. And also what the communication we're doing with students is, how are we educating them about, frankly, the dangers of social media, the dangers of our electronic devices. I think that's going to be vital to this whole thing.
We actually are in process of updating that training for our students around the digital literacy, I'm going to not say the word, it was said over there. There it goes, digital citizenship. And that's a training program that we put for our students in teaching them the dangers involved in social media, the harm, and the benefits of avoiding that, especially during the school day, but really in their entire life as well. And so that's an ongoing educational effort, and we're updating that right now.
Yet the aberrations persist.
Absolutely. Everywhere.
I also continue to think that this perceived threat of danger is very subjective. You know, what is a perceived threat of danger to a 12-year-old is very different than what it is to us.
Do they know that there's monitoring going on 24/7 on those school sites?
As far as on the outside of our classrooms?
I mean, as far as the room where we have officers 24/7 monitoring the campuses.
Yeah, but their intention of that room and their work is focused primarily on the perimeters of our schools in order to keep intruders and our schools safe from that sort of threat.
Well,
they do not monitor the student population or any of the activities on the inside of campus. They're focused primarily on the perimeters of campus.
But isn't that where the safety threat would come from?
Potentially. Potentially.
That is one
but
avenue
that
for
is
threats to come in,
the
yes.
parents' mind as well.
Right, yeah.
And that's exactly right. When that policy was, it was shortly after Sandy Hook,
Mhm.
that it was like they needed to have,
Yeah.
kids needed to have the cell phones, because you don't know, they
And-
need to know the location.
And that's
call
ongoing
for
given
911.
the recent happenings as well.
Absolutely.
But again,
We have
we
extra
have
additional.
that in place.
Right.
So that should, and I don't know if all of our parents are aware of that.
Well, that is one of many layers to provide school safety, of course, and also our administrators and other staff, our social workers, our counselors, our teachers, all the staff on the school, also of awareness of our students as well while they're on campus. So watching the perimeters is one layer. Once they're in campus, many other layers take place there in the proactive nature of that. So I don't want to leave anybody thinking that just watching the perimeters is the only measure we have. We have many layers of measures of safety and security throughout our campuses and working with our student populations in that. But again, we have a law here that has left an ambiguity, as many laws do, and open to interpretation. And so we're trying to strike the balance in adhering to that law, even though it is ambiguous as it is.
Well, they couldn't mandate storage lockers unless they funded it, so.
Oh, they mandate lots of things that they
But I
don't
mean,
fund. That's just,
there would have been a big uproar,
yeah.
so.
All right, so thank you. We look forward to seeing the policy with administrative regulations. Thank you for that. Any other input?
For clarification, would you like staff member to be spelled out a little bit more distinct?
Well, I would like that, but I'm not sure that I have
In
any
the
support
ARs.
for that.
In there?
No, you make a good point.
Okay, sounds like we have some level of consensus for that being spelled out more exactly, or sort of how that will work.
Thank you.
I have it. It's got to be here someplace. Stupid.
Okay. All right. I thought we were on number 3. Okay, so we've got job description for behavior specialist 2.
Correct. I'm seeking approval to approve the updated behavior specialist 2. The marked one is draft is there for you. And then this is just to update it. It was an old, and we wanted to just update it for the new.
All right, looking for a motion.
Motion to approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
I voted. You'll have to check the vote.
All right. Motion passes 5-0. One electronically. And item number 4. This is the employment contract agreement for Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources.
I'll take this one. So before you is a ratification of the, for renewal of Audrey Frank to be our Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources. Ratification because if approved, it taking effect at July 1st of the current year for a term ending June 30th, 2028 with a salary on the cabinet salary schedule of $191,292.
I'll move approval.
We have a motion and a second. Please vote electronically.
I got it. We're just, it's going to you and you guys are voting, but I am not getting.
All right, so all in favor, please raise your hand.
Thank you.
And motion passes 5-0.
The only one vote. Maybe it's, 5 is too many.
Worked perfectly. All right, board and staff reports. Ms. Gardner.
Okay. Well, I had the great pleasure, since our last meeting, to attend the first Escondido Council PTA meeting of the year. And it's never a disappointment. I just love the polished way they run their meetings and how they welcome newcomers. There were a lot of new participants, in fact, and two of the moms at the table I sat at are mothers of very young children, so they'll be with the district for quite a while. They train the participants well, give them all assistance, and I'm so grateful for our PTAs because they are so critical to our schools. They're so supportive, and those parents that are involved, they have kids who are involved as well. So it's, I hope everyone, all the parents will join the PTA and participate and make them, each parent-teacher association at each school successful. And also Zesty and I, but she can report on her own, but we attended the latest insurance committee meeting, and the news is not good. The rates across the board are up at least 10%, and we still don't know what the individual contributions are gonna be. I think that's gonna go out tonight or tomorrow to our membership, to our stakeholders, but it is what it is, unfortunately. I think that's happening all across the country. Insurance rates are skyrocketing for various reasons. And I just wanted to remind everyone about the Foundation Fashion Show that's coming up on October 4th and encourage everyone to get a ticket and sign up. And I understand we're going to have a very special Master of Ceremonies this year. You might want to expand on that. Well, it should be a lot of fun, Mr. Paulson. And we also had a very productive meeting with our AAA executive board tonight, so thank you for that. And I'm finished.
I don't have a report. I just wanted to thank AAA for providing a really good meeting this afternoon. It's always good to sit down and have those discussions and get everything out on the table so that we can move forward in a positive manner. And I'm looking forward to working together with you guys and getting everybody where they need to be. So thank you very much for showing up and appreciate your guys' candor.
I'll just echo what's been said. It's good to have our association membership here and stay through the evening. So looking forward to more conversations, and just want to say thanks to everyone. Sounds like the school year has gotten off to a very smooth start, and all the work that went into that. I was on campus. It was at Reedy Creek, I think it was last Friday, to see Coach V receive the grant. So that was great to see that our students were engaged, a lot of happy faces, a lot of energetic staff, and it's great to see one of our staff members take the initiative and try and do things for the school. It's great representation, just one thing that happens hundreds of times every single day across the district. So it's good to be in attendance for that special event. Thanks.
I too was in attendance at Reedy Creek. I can't wait to see when they get all the new PE equipment from a generous donation from the American Heart Association. So thank them for supporting our district and our students and our teachers. I also attended the Personnel Commission meeting. And speaking of the Personnel Commission, I wanted to say a thank you to Amy Lawton, who is our Director of Classified and who has gotten a promotion at another district, but she has been here over 10 years and did such an amazing job as the director and working as the Personnel Commission, I guess that would be the director as well. But she had such a heart for this district and for our employees. So I just wanted to say thank you to her and wish her the best at her new position. And we also lost another one of our long-term employees, Eloisa, who went on to a great promotion. Very excited for her. But if you ever came in this district office or called on this phone, you saw her warmth and her spirit for this district. And so we will definitely miss her. And like Joan said, we had the insurance committee meeting, which we had the great news that our insurance rates are going up between 6 and 12%. So we are still working on that. I don't know when the rates are coming out. We did add, I believe we did add a cheaper PPO plan option. With surety. Surety, it is all copay based. So there's no deductible percent kind of thing, but it's a lot less expensive than some of our other PPO plans. What? Oh, than the other PPO plan. So it's significantly less. So if someone was wanting to move to a PPO plan, this was a better option with a lower cost. Yeah, I have it. Surest. So that's going to be one of the options, and then we're hoping to see if there's any other option we can do. But again, we don't know the rates yet.
Apparently they came today and that's all.
Okay, so again, not great news. You know, that's a really tough pill to swallow. But something else the committee talked about is how to best inform all of our employees of what their insurance options are. You know, what might be better for one employee versus someone with a family versus someone single versus someone young. You know, that all those options and how we can get that messaging out, because there are it's overwhelming with the choices and not know the unknown of what your cost might be. So they're working on that as well. And then lastly, I do appreciate our AAA communication meeting and the work you guys do on behalf of our teachers, because it's really important. But it's really important that we keep the communication open and remember that we are here for our students, and that's our number one priority. And if we keep focusing on that, we're going to be in the right direction every time. So I wanted to thank you again. That's my report.
Okay, and I just want to thank everybody, certainly all of our teachers who got us off to a great start this year, very smooth. Our administrators, our district office staff, everybody who pulled together to get the schools opened and really off to a very good start this year. I want to spend a minute just talking about all of our classified staff who are so vital to keeping our schools running. Whether we're talking about noontime supervisors, nutrition services aides, maintenance and operations personnel, paraeducators. Our schools really could not function without our classified staff, and they do a tremendous job. And when we talk about these increases of 10 to 12%, we already know that our classified staff generally is making a very small salary that they could do, in many cases, they could do better in the private community or in private industry, and they're still coming to work for us to serve our students. And so I just want to express our gratitude to them for everything they do to keep our schools running, and recognize that when we're talking 10 or 12% for insurance, what that's going to mean for them when they're making $17 an hour to $21 an hour. That means that food choices are going to have to be made at home. It means that kids are not going to be getting lessons. It means their activities are going to be really curtailed. So we understand very, very closely what these insurance rate increases mean to individual families, to everybody. And I don't know what we can do about it, because obviously this is not just our district. But thank you to everybody who, teachers, classified staff, who are deciding to make the children of Escondido their sole priority. Thank you. Dr. Ibarra?
Yeah, I just wanted to publicly recognize and thank Ms. Liz Shulock, who is the editor of the District Voices, and she is, through a partnership, she is pushing out our family communication on a weekly basis. So more people are getting to see what we're doing and learning about our districts. So thank you.
All right. Our next regularly scheduled board meeting will be held on Thursday, September 18th. Oh, I need to make one more announcement. Hold on. Before I make this announcement, we did recognize that the October school board meeting was scheduled for parent-teacher conferences. That date is going to be changed so that staff members and parents will be able to attend the school board meeting. The actual vote on changing that will be at the next meeting, but that's going to be changed to, I believe, a week earlier. Is that correct? So it's going to go to October 2nd.
Yes.
And with that, the next regularly scheduled board meeting will be held on Thursday, September 18th, 2025 at 7 p.m. at the Escondido Union School District, Carolyn Gilbert Education Center, 2310 Alder Grove Avenue, Escondido, California, 92029. We are adjourned.